Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro Books. Although not so retro, because this time I'm presenting this, the Haynes TIE Fighter Owner's Manual, which came out only about 5 years ago. But it's a great book, as I covered the YT-1300 Owner's Manual from Haynes just a few months ago, which really breaks down the YT-1300s and that entire class of ship. This goes through all the TIE Fighters. And it's rather lovely, although it does have its limitations, as I'll discuss when we're looking at the book. So let's not waste time, let's have a look at the Star Wars TIE Fighter Owner's Manual by Haynes. So, this is the Star Wars TIE Fighter Owner's Workshop Manual by Haynes, which is an in-universe guidebook for the entire TIE Fighter range of vessels, as used by the Galactic Empire and the Star Wars movies. And it covers the Imperial and First Order models, and it came out in 2019, which is one of the problems with the book. Because if you do the math, this book coming out in early 2019 came out before the movie Rise of Skywalker was released, which had a couple of TIE Fighter designs that the First Order used. It's also before the final season of the animated series Star Wars Resistance aired, which again had different TIE Fighters in it, particularly the First Order TIE Fighter Bomber, which I actually really like the look of, and it's not covered in this book. This came out before that. Now, like the YT-1300 book, it's got lots of diagrams and things within it, but let's start off with the back cover. Just as the Galactic Empire used great fleets and starships to expand Imperial control across the galaxy, the subsequent authoritarian government, the First Order, used even more technologically advanced ships to unify planetary systems and crush all opposition. With both regimes, the abundant and ubiquitous ships in their respective fleets were the notoriously lethal TIE Fighters. The TIE Fighter Owner's Workshop Manual presents a thorough history of Sienar Fleet Systems' twin-ion-engine space superiority fighter, from early concepts and prototypes to the mass-produced starfighters that fought countless battles against insurgent groups. The history of the TIE Fighters, including bombers, boarding craft and shuttles, is fully illustrated with numerous photographs, schematics, exploded diagrams, and computer-generated artwork by Star Wars vehicle experts Reiff and Trevas. Text is by Ryder Windham, author and co-author of more than 70 Star Wars books. This Haynes Manual is the most thorough technical guide to the TIE Fighters available, and is fully authorized and approved by Lucasfilm. And inside, well, the quality of production is very, very nice. It's very glossy paper. The artwork is lovely. I absolutely adore technical diagrams, as is blatantly obvious as the many technical manuals I've covered. We've got the contents pages, information about Sienar Fleet Systems and the TIE series, and origins and development, from the heavily customized Star Courier used by Darth Maul and the Scimitar in Phantom Menace, through the fighters used in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, onto a TIE Fighter prototype, which looks like it has an extra weapon. Perhaps it's a sensor or something sticking out the front here. You can't really make it out on the diagrams. Doesn't seem to be anything sticking out there. But it's a prototype version of the fighter. Then we've got details of the production facilities, showing lines of cockpits lined up to be fitted to their wings. Then we're on to Imperial TIE Fighters. Information from Reiff Sienar, Chief Executive Officer, Sienar Fleet Systems. Then we've got the common TIE Fighter, as we've seen since the original Star Wars A New Hope movie. Hordes of them from Rogue One. Some very nice illustrations of them, and a lovely technical diagram here, with all the information about it. Acceleration, maximum speed in an atmosphere. Diagram giving us all the information. We've got some views here, 3/4 views, dorsal and ventral views, forward and aft views. Talking about the solar collector wings, what the purpose of those are. The flight controls going into them, including the targeting computer. We saw it in the original A New Hope when it was targeting X-Wings, but there it is targeting a U-Wing. The ion engine and the working of that. And then we're going through to the entire TIE Starfighter series. So we've got the TIE Brute, seen in the Solo movie. A larger TIE fighter with heavier weapons on a sort of side turret. Almost like a light TIE bomber. Diagrams of that. Then we've got the TIE SA bomber, as we first saw in Empire Strikes Back. Diagrams of that, very nice indeed. The TIE boarding craft, which is because they used the TIE bomber as a shuttle in Empire Strikes Back, used the same model. They use it as a shuttle, as boarding craft. Instead of having the bomb delivery system, it's got this sort of cutter and airlock on the front. Oh. The schematics for the boarding craft. The TIE Command Shuttle. Now, I don't remember ever seeing this. Perhaps they've changed it in one of the special editions to be the vessel used as a shuttle between them. But I think it's quite cool. It looks a lot like the First Order TIE bomber, except it has wings with daggers on the front with laser cannons. A lot more like the TIE Interceptor, but it has these reversed type of wings. I kind of like the look of that. The specifications and schematics of it, the TIE Advanced that we see Inquisitors use in the Rebels series, including the way the wings fold down to allow them to land. Specifications for that. The TIE Advanced that Darth Vader uses in A New Hope. Although we never see it again. We never see a TIE Advanced X2 or X3. The TIE Mining Guild. A light version of the TIE Fighter, doesn't get as much energy because it's not as heavily armed. It's basically given out to the Mining Guild, who is part of the Empire. You see them in the Rebels TV series. Schematics of that. The TIE Interceptor, with its large dagger-shaped wings with laser cannons on the front. Always a little confused because it's got 4 laser cannons, but it still has the mounting points on the chin. 5 laser cannons. So it has 2 laser cannons on each wing and then 2 there. So it actually has 6 guns. The TIE Defender with its laser cannons and ion cannons and missile launchers and everything it had since the TIE Fighter video game. A very nice looking fighter indeed. Odd that they put the TIE Defender in, but they don't put the TIE Advanced. But that was just in the video games. It's not been put in any of the series since. The TIE Defender Elite, which has even more guns on it, including a hyperdrive. The TIE Striker, as we saw in Rogue One, with schematics on that. Very nice indeed. The TIE Reaper, a sort of shuttlecraft version of the TIE Fighter series. It's very nice designed, but I don't quite like it's almost Lambda Shuttle-like in its body, a merging of the two. Not really that keen on it, although it does look very, very fast. And we've also got detailing of the Gazanti-class cruisers, which are used to carry TIE fighters around. You especially see that in Rebels, because TIE fighters themselves don't have hyperdrives. We get to see these cruisers carrying them around and dropping them off into battle. And then we're on to the First Order. Now, I really don't like these as TIE fighters. I know they were just going for the classic look, but the idea that these look almost identical to the TIE fighters, but they've got so much more added into them. So instead of being a one-person vessel with the engines and sensors, and you need to wear a spacesuit because there's no life support in them and there's no hyperdrive, it's a cheap ship, but it's small and it's agile. They introduced these where they're 2-man, they've got a turret in them, they've got ejection seats, they've got atmosphere, so people don't need to wear a spacesuit in them. They've even got hyperdrives, all packed into almost exactly the same body. Anyway, the standard TIE FO space superiority, First Order, a cutaway for them, a set of schematics, what the cockpit's like, TIE First Order controls, the TIE SF, which is a Special Forces variant. That's the one which can have a second pilot in them with the turret on the bottom. What else we've got? Kylo Ren's TIE Silencer, which is used in the second movie, The Last Jedi. But then he has a different version, which has the more spherical pod. And there are other versions of that. I believe they are TIE Silencers as well. But they're in Rise of Skywalker, so weren't available for this book. Some very nice schematics for them. We've got weapons and defensive systems, the laser cannons, proton torpedoes and bombs. So we've got the First Order proton torpedo, which is a very odd looking thing, Arakid concussion missiles, Defender Elite concussion missiles, and standard proton bombs for bombers. We've got diagram of the ejector seat, the flight data recorder, the TIE pilots training and gear, going over those. With the training academies, First Order academies are mentioned, simulator pods for practicing, which seem to have the cockpit section mounted and swiveling. It's kind of a cool design. Combat tactics, the hangar racks, because TIE fighters, although we've now seen them in The Mandalorian sitting down and their wings can pivot to allow them to set down, we kind of assumed they set down on the edges of their wings, but when we actually saw them in the movies, they were hanging from these racks on the walls or on the ceilings. Which makes sense, because the entryway is on the top, and pilots can drop down into them. Maintenance and support staff, Imperial astromech droids, an R2 unit painted a very cool black. The pilot suits for the Imperial Navy, and then the First Order. I have to say the Imperial Navy suit looks a lot cooler. While that's far more shiny, that looks bulky and like a proper flight suit. It's very, very nice. I like the original design. The way the hoses connect, whereas only one of them on this. I suppose it's supposed to be more advanced and they only need one hose. A comparison chart showing the size of TIE fighters to different shuttles, and then onto larger vessels like Imperial Star Destroyers. Acknowledgements, including a TIE fighter landed the way we see it in The Mandalorian, and about the team. And that's it. It's a very nice book. I do think it came out at the wrong time. They'd have been far better to have either just focused on the Empire and then expanded it at a later date to the First Order, or just brought it out later when they could have included everything from all the movies. Or even, why not give us a sneak preview of what was going to come in this movie which was released later that year? Because if this is by the people within Lucasfilm, they have to have known what they were putting in the movies. But anyway, it doesn't have that, which makes it sadly lacking in my eyes, but a very, very cool book indeed. Not as cool as the YT-1300 one, which I bought because I was creating the website for it, to allow you to design your own YT ships. This one, I'd already done a ugly designer, which allows you to clamp bits of starfighters together into various ugly designs. I will link it in the description down below somewhere, but I didn't need this book. I just bought it because I wanted it, and it's very nice, but just disappointed a bit. So that's the Haynes TIE Fighter Owner's Manual. And it's a lovely looking book, brilliant illustrations in it, lots and lots of information in there. Now, while I am disappointed, because I am a bit of a completionist, so knowing there's fighters in Rise of Skywalker and the final season of Resistance which aren't in the book is disappointing to me. And the fact that while the YT-1300 manual that I covered a couple of months ago was an absolutely brilliant resource for the YT ship designer that I was building on my website, whereas this was no use to me whatsoever in the ugly starfighter designer, which I'll link to in the description down below. I do like owning it, and I did go out and buy another of them, which I will cover at some point in the future. But anyway, I've been wittering on for far long enough, so thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.